Shalom B'Shem Hashem. Shem Egen Shir Torah. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's shir. We have the great schus sponsor in your shir call Egen Shir Torah 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Due to extenuating circumstances, Rabbi Boruch is not available to speak tonight. So Rabbi Elozer Boruch will be speaking on stories and Shidduchim from Gedolei Hador. As we cover the corner by Rabbi Elozer Boruch for tonight's drasha.
Yeah, the Eibusher should help me. I called him, I spoke to him today at 12 o'clock. He was supposed to come. We were hoping he should come. But Be'ezer Hashem, we're going to have a lot of good stories tonight, B'siyat D'Shmaya. And some eitzes of Gedolei Hador. 6 advices from 6 Gedolim in our past generation. What 6 Gedolim said about what we could do about Shidduchim today. Today is Chamisha B'Av. Chamisha B'Av tonight. It's a big Yom Tov. The Mishnah says in the end of Tainis, Amar Reb Shimon Ben Gamliel Hoy Yom Tov L'Yisrael Chamisha B'Av Kim Kippurim. The biggest Yom Tov by Klal Yisrael was tonight. Chamisha B'Av, just like Yom Kippur. The Mishnah says, what was the Yom Tov? The Gemara says 6 reasons why it was the Yom Tov. But the Mishnah specifies what's the big Yom Tov of Chamisha B'Av. Shebehem benois Yushalayim yoitzes bekilov and shulim shlo levayish as misheilei. They went out with white clothing. Ubenois Yushalayim yoitzes v'choiles bekromim. The girls went out in the vineyard, and what did they do? They needed shidduchim. All the alte meidlich, all the alte bochum, they couldn't find a shidduch. On Yom Kippur, on Chamisha B'Av, twice a year, everybody had a date. Umaya Oimers, what did they say? The Gemara brings a brisa. There were 3 groups. Yofi, the nice one, said, ain't Isha Yofi. The ones that were Yumichasis, it says, you want that the kids should have good shidduchim. Take a miyuchas. Then the Enikul have good shidduchim. Be easy. You see what a tough time you're having. This is Yom Tov. The third one, those that were mecharos, that weren't so beautiful, they said, listen, take me as is, l'shem shamayim. You'll give me a lot of gold and silver, nice jewelry, I'll look beautiful. Azuz the Mishnah. What would the significance of Chamisha B'Av have to do with Shidduchim? And how was that they did it? The Melech HaShlomo brings the kolboi, that Chazal knew that the Alte Meidlich, they shouldn't become white, they had no choice, they had to do this. How about that? Shatchonim. But there was no choice. On Yom Kippur, the Ben Yoda writes, on Yom Kippur, the biggest day in the year. How do you do such a thing? Shidduchim is the größte Sach. On Yom Kippur they did it, and on Chamisha B'Av. But what do we understand? The Pashat, to understand the significance of today's Yom Tov of Chamisha B'Av. The Rambam explains that one of the reasons of the Gemara is Chamisha B'Av, the Meisei Midbar stopped dying. The last 15,000, every year Tisha B'Av died 15,000. That year Tisha B'Av came, nobody died. They were waiting till the Levana went up, the 15th day. They made it for Yom Tov, nobody's dying. Kapara Savonis for the angel was finished, Chamisha B'Av. Kapara Savonis for the Meraglim was finished in Kippur, and that stayed in Kippur. Zok the Rambam, they waited till the half a month, till Chamisha B'Av. They believed, they had betochen. They finally found, Baruch Hashem, Hashem loves us. Hashem took away his kas. From then on, it became a Yom Tov forever. Chamisha B'Av, that it should be Yom Tov. Then on, Chamisha B'Av became a Yom Tov forever. Generations till today, we don't say Tachnan tomorrow, Chassan doesn't fast tomorrow if he gets married, because it was Chamisha B'Av, Yom Kippur's significance. When you dinim go away, when you do tshuva and you do schusim, then you get shidduchim. And Yom Kippur is a time for shidduchim, and Chamisha B'Av is a time for shidduchim. But the Kedushas Levi says a different reason. Api Kabbalah, that 40 days it takes to create a child. You call it this shidduch, it takes 40 days to perform a child. When was the world created? Chafei Elul. Adam Rishon was born the 6th day, that's Aleph Tishrei. But Chafei Elul, was when the world was created. From Chamisha Asabav till Chafei Elul is 40 days. There's a new creation, a new beginning now, a new start now. Now is the time you could start, like the Gemara says, learning, start Shidduchim, Hutru Shavatim Lava Zebezeh, Shavatim were able to marry each other. It's Mesugel for Atzlacha, for growth. Chamisha Asabav, like Yom Kippur, for two reasons. Number one is the Dinim stop, Tisha B'Av finished. 7 days, the Shiva of Tisha B'Av is finished today. And we start from fresh, yearning for the Beis HaMikdash. And two is, it's a kapar like Yom Kippur. And two, it's a Zman, 40 days before Chafei Elul, which is the Yitzir of the Rosh Hashanah, of the Tishrei, of the whole Rosh Hashanah Kippur. Now starts, that's what Tzaddik used to say, now it starts, so now we could start generations of Shidduchim. That's why the Zman is Mesugel. But I want to go on to speak about, I spoke 4 weeks ago here, Shir, about Shidduchim, and I said then that I went to many Gedolim to find what are we going to do here. Klal Yisrael grew, Baruch Hashem, hundreds of thousands of Bachrim and girls, hundreds of thousands around the world, Baruch Hashem, Kanayin Hara. And the Shatchanim grew very little new Shatchanim. And people are struggling. Not tens of thousands of boys and girls are still waiting. And it's not a crisis, it's a lot more than a crisis. And we don't know what to do. I went to Rav Agoin, Gedolei Hador, Moshe Sternbuch. And he told me the problem is missing Shatchanim to do Shidduchim. In other words, we're missing Ishtadlis. And we spoke then about it, that is a chiyuv, not like people say in the street. You can hear that shir, look it up 4 weeks ago. I gave tens of chazal and rishonim and achronim how chiyuv ishtadlis. Not to be yoytza one time of the day. It's pikuch nefesh. You have to do it as maximum till you find. That's what Rabbi Kanafi said. Number one, it's a mitzvah. Every shtadlis, every phone call that you do is a mitzvah. Like the Gemara says in Kedushin, Tenu Nashim Lebnechem B'Neseichem Lenashim. It's a mitzvah to marry yourself and your children. And number two, that's a teva oilam. I brought a Rambam and Shemona Prakim, and also b'derech shadam reitze leilech by malichin loisei. So there's a chiyuv to do a shtadlis. And the Gemara says, Lo olam yim ka'adam kol ma sheyesh loi. A person should sell everything, his house, his clothing, everything to get a good shidduch, a bas tamid chacham. So someone asked Reb Chaim Kanievsky, what do you mean, a choymish? You should sell your whole house to get a shidduch for your child? So he says, pikuach nefesh. Pikuach nefesh. We're not talking about shaylis, how much is shtadlis? The kinder, they're crying away. Everybody has to do the maximum, and that's what I spoke last time. I'm not going to speak over the drosha. I had my son last Shidduch Baruch Hashem. They got married. I want to tell you, I didn't tell you then how it started, and I just want to tell you, everybody can do for Shidduchim. I have a niece that's 17 years old, and she gets on the phone every day because she cares, and she calls up everybody for Shidduchim. People think she's 30 years old. They have no idea. 17-year-old. Girl, she sends resumes, and she called the Shatran, gave the Shatran my son's resume to speak to Shidduch. She's the one. I gave her a nice commission because to give her chizit to go weiter. She calls, she has meetings over the phones, hours every day. A 17-year-old girl. Nobody has to know she's not married. If you have pain, you need a Shidduch, go help others, and you'll see you find yourself also a Shidduch. My wife told me a story. Her friend was in a yeshiva. And there was this, every time there's new schools that come out, which sometimes help, sometimes don't, but everything is great. They wanted to make a big yard to student in the Basan's yard site, Yud Beis Kislev. The whole class, it's like a Shema Kazach, And the Rosh Hashiva, it's 15-year-old Bachrim. And the Rosh Hashiva he heard about it, he says, no. Teire! He didn't like it. He says, Bachrim don't do these things. Young Bachrim, they wanted to do it not for themselves, they're 15-year-old. They wanted to do it for others. And the Shiva said, you want to do something, learn Torah for Shidduchim. Who's going to do it? Bachim are going to learn an extra few hours for Shidduchim. I see that, but two Bachim took it seriously. They really went, and they said, let's learn B'chavrusa on the day of the yard site, an extra few hours in order to have a schus for Shidduchim, for the public. They were learning together, and one Bachar says, I'm going to learn for my brother, and the other book says, I'm going for my sister. 15-year-old Bachim. They call home to tell the mother, we learned the extra few hours of Basan's yard site, in the was Basan, in order we should have me for my brother and him for his sister. And there's, Mommy, maybe it's a Shidduch, And the mother goes and really called up somebody and to speak it, and within 2 weeks was a Shidduch. My wife's friend. 15-year-old Bachim could do for Shidduch. So Hishtadlis has no gvul. People have to do family groups. They have to start from tonight a new project. Partners in Torah, but there's partners for Shidduchim. People have boys, find out some other boys. Let's say a mother has a friend who has a boy. Find out what people spoke for you and it's not interesting for you. Maybe it's interesting for your friend. Share the information. You have a daughter? Share the information. You know a friend from school? Share. You teach with somebody? You have work with somebody? Every name you see you could be saving doiris. There's no gvul. Partners for Shidduchim. My boy said everybody has pronounced the project. Partners for Shidduchim. You have a partner. Everybody has to have at least one partner. You can have 10 partners who you're helping, working together daily or weekly to make Shidduchim. That's Ishtadlis share from 4 weeks ago. It's new things, but it's the topic I spoke about. That was our Moshe Sternberg's idea. Reb Steinman's idea, Zatzal, I went to many times and asked him. He was very sharp. Reb Steinman, Heilig Reb Steinman. He says, I asked him, well, wasn't he Shidduchim in America? He says, I was in America and I told him why. Gaive. This one doesn't want to be Meshadach with him. This one doesn't want to be Meshadach with him. Now that's very tough to hear. You know, people say, everybody's about Gaive. But I spoke to my friend, one of my friends. He tells me, after the Lager, after the Second World War, everybody had Shidduchim. Why did they have Shidduchim? There's no parents to mix in. But, it's very painful to say. There's so much talk in the Drushas against the parents. I don't want to be one of those. Because nobody should be approved. Nobody should be approved. But let's look it down. I think the reason is because they were happy to find who they could find. They were to build the future generations. They weren't picky. That was the reason. But whatever, let's look at Reb Steinman's words. Let's say I'm not a Balgaiva. Everybody thinks he's not a Balgaiva. But let's look at the Metzias. Everybody has a certain image on himself, how he looks. But you don't know how people look at you. They choshev, rabbi, and mister, and businessman. But when it comes to the shidduch, they don't want you. So you have to look what's available. You can't look, you're not about Gaiva. But what's the point of Steiner making? The value you think about yourself, the other people are not thinking that way. So what could you do? It could be it's Baldova, Maisa Baldova. Could be someone that had a bad name about you. But the Metziah says that people don't think the way you think. You want to get to New Jersey. You put in the GPS. You got to know where you are. Where am I? In New York? Oh, I know who I want this type of boy, this type of girl. But what do you want in people's eyes? But that's what Reb Steinman is saying. Basically, we should have to see what is available. It shouldn't be Balgaiva or see how people look at you to see Avada, people could get better, Avada should get better. But I'm saying if it goes a while and it doesn't work, you have to see what you could do. I went to Rav Tzadik Abichel Yehuda Lefkowitz, the Rosh Hashiva. Heilig Abichel Yehuda Lefkowitz, he was Rosh Hashiva of Reb Chaim Kanevsky still. And he told me, he was a very edler person. He didn't speak so sharp. He says, similar but a little different. Jede einot eigene Interessen. Every person has certain ideas that he needs, that he likes, and that he wants. If a person would put away his own interest, or interests, different things he doesn't want, but just know, I want to marry my child to be able to meet this Toivis, and not, I need this, I need that. I spoke to my friend, Rabbi Yitzchak Tzevin. He told me he once tried to speak a shidduch, and he called up a mother of a shidduch. She says, Dad, that's too of a big veer. I can't handle this as a big veer. I have to still sue after everything is going to cost me a lot of money. It's too much for me. Next day calls again. I have a different idea for you for shidduch. That's a pauper, schnorrer. It's not for me, pauper, schnorrer. Next day calls, third day. I have something in between. Not a gvir and not a pauper. So the lady says, nicht dahin and nicht daher. Not like this and not like that. That's nothing. People look for their own interest. They're looking for excuses for interest. What do I know? When you have to marry off your children, you have to look what's really needed. That's the third answer. Moshe Sternberg, Shadchanim need to create with millions of dollars, thousands of Shadchanim in every neighborhood. Reb Steinman, Gaiver, and Michi Yehuda Lefkowitz take away your own interests. Fourth, God, I went to the Tenkerov in Borough Park. He says, Zokin already. He tells me that him and his Rebbetzin made between 50 to 70 Shidduchim tens of years ago. Now it doesn't work. I asked him, why doesn't it work? It's missing trust. people don't believe anybody anymore. The closest people, they don't believe Rabbanim, they don't believe nobody anymore. He says he once called the Gvir, that he has a bach in his shul, that he knows him personally, he learns with him, he knows him. And he wants to speak for the Gvir's daughter Shidduch. They asked him to speak it. In his shul, a bach of his shul, the parents asked him, so he called up the Gvir, he knew who he is. Tanker of, yeah, you know Rabbi Friedman, you know who he is. So he told him, you want some information to find it? No. If you tell me he's a chashiv, a good bacher, balmidas, a learner, I'm ready to meet the bacher. That's how it was. People had trust. There's no more trust. So I tell him, so what are we supposed to do? He tells me, I didn't have the sefer. I got it from I borrowed from him. Rabbi Hillel Kalamaya. Rabbi Hillel Kalamaya was a Talmud of the Chassam Sofi. He was a tzaddik kodesh in the Europe that moif similar like that. And Rabbi Hillel Kalamaya, I bought a copy of the sefer. In Siman Ayin Shuvas writes a letter to somebody. He writes, Koydem ani mazira. First, I'm warning you. Al masha amru Chazal, what Chazal say, Bitcha bogro shacher avdcha v'tein lo. If your daughter becomes a beger, she gets older, which then was 12 and a half years old, but today means a different age, free a slave and give it to her. So he tells me, take her of, in Hilchos Shchita, in the first simon, I looked it up, the Shach says, Avodim Kananim, even though Dinim Kanoshim, they're not allowed to do Shchita. Shchita is kosher with an Isha. A lady is allowed to shecht. But an Evet Kanani, even though the halacha of Evet Kanani, a slave, a goyish slave, halacha is like a yid, like a Isha, she is not allowed to shecht. Why? So like the Shach, because they were pchusim, they were such low-level people. They did things like goyim. They had a very low job, a low self-esteem. They were the lowest of the lowest. Still, the Gemara says, if Hashur means it was a good slave, he knew his slave is a good balmidah, he knew it's good for the daughter. But Shachar Avducha lose millions of dollars for a slave forever. And the whole shtut is going to say, what? I married your daughter you gave to your slave? What did you do? I was like the Gemara. And I saw, in Sefer Chassidim writes, 527, that Moshe Rabbeinu married a Geyoris for the same reason. Tzipora was a Goyta and a Geyoris. Because he saw there's no shidduch, he took the shidduch, Moshe Rabbeinu. So he warns him, I'm warning you what Chazal say. And also he says another Gemara, if you don't know how to have what you want, take for yourself what you find. Or befrat, make sure that you're Shemayim, and Ktsas Yudei Sefer, the boy should know a little how to learn. Again, says the Tanker of to me, today everybody wants, you know what? All the no's. Whoever tells me no, that's who I want. Not who's available. Or no, he doesn't want. No, send him. I want. All the no's. That's what people want. This is what he's saying. If you do not have what you want what you find. In other words, again, I'll say it again. If you don't find what you want what you find. You hear the words? That's in English. I said it right? Okay. If you don't find what you want what you find. This is what the Heilige Kalamai says, and it's mamish negei in a generation. People are looking, and unfortunately years go by, and their heart goes after them. It's so painful to say what I'm going to say, but it's like the Gemara Gittin, we just learned that from Nun Vav, the Tisha B'Av days. Marsa Bazbaisa, she wanted food. She sent a slave. He was a tumim, a tippish, Bring me rich white flour. He comes back, not available. Bring me clean bread. Bring me dirty bread. Bring me barley bread. It goes by hours, and she goes out, and she tripped on Gedolim, on dirt, and she died. The Gemara says, like Misnefesh, Istanis. Unfortunately, boys and girls, new ones, are not being created age 20 and 30. They made them born by day 1, not by day 20 or 30. Whatever boys and girls are out there, that's what it is. We got to do what the Heilige Rabbi Kalamai said. If you don't have if you can't find what you want what you should want what you find. This is painful, but that's what the fact is. That Mitzi is leider. Eitzah number 5. this is what I want to speak tonight try a lot about. Reb Chaim Kanievsky, that's all the Heilige Reb Chaim Kanievsky. I went to many times. And then if I have time, I'll get to what Reb Gershon Edelstein Zatzal also told me, mamish before his nifta, and we're going to show it by the dinim Yetz Hashem. And if I get time, I'll be able to sneak out some of the stuff from the video, the eights that Reb Gershon Edelstein told us. But let me go to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. I went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, I told him, what's it with Shidduchim in America? It's Mishana Zayin the Gemara. You want to change the Gemara? The Gemara says, Koshkel Azavkin, Kikris Yamsev. It's hard. Like, you want to change the Gemara? What do you want to do? That's what it is. It's hard. I say, but what should we do? We need Shidduchim. She says, Mispalel Zayin. Okay. Next year I come back and I tell him, they ganze in America to Mispalel gewesen. They did all the Shtadlis. They tried Shidduchim. They called and they were Mispalel. Now what? Mispalel Zayin weiter. Beim Sof helped us. Keep on davening. By the end, it works. I have my oldest son, Baruch Hashem, he's married. There are a bunch of kids. Many years ago, I sent him, I went a letter, and I said, I'm waiting for Shidduch. He was a great boy, didn't have a Shidduch. So he said, Mevat of Zayin davening. Same type of answer. This he used to sell more, he just said many answers, but that was one of his many answers that he said. Where did we find the Chazal? I want to elaborate about davening b'chlal, davening for Shidduchim. I'll say, try to get stories packed in to see how we see davening pertaining to Shidduchim. We find, I asked somebody that, you got to do Shtadlis and you got to daven, you got to do both. So the guy says, no, Shtadlis. Only by Parnasa says, Bezeres apecha toichel lechem. Only by Parnasa you got to shvitz. Nobody else got to do Shtadlis. I told him he's wrong, totally wrong. The Ramban writes in Pashas Noach, why did Hashem make the Teva and all that? They should come in the behemoths. It was all Nisim. You had tens of thousands of behemoths with food for a year time in such a small Teva. How was it possible? It wasn't possible. It was Nisim. Everything was Nisim. So Hashem should just put them all in one place and that's it. No marble in this place. Dr. Ramban, because even though everything was Nisim, but you have to do as much as possible. It should look like Teva. It should be Tevadik. This is part of it. There's a house. There's a teva. It's as much possible tevadik you could do. You have to do. So Ramban, the Gemara in Daf Ein Amud Beis says. I mentioned that Gemara on three things. The Gemara says, but it's probably on everything. The Gemara says on Ashiras, ha b'loy halei sagi. This without this doesn't work. In other words, if you want to have Ashiras, you got to have tefillah and you got to have a shtadlis. One without the other doesn't work. The same as you want to have children banim scharim. Tefillah and Ishtadlis. And it means, obviously, Shidduchim as well. And the Gemara says, Torah, you want to learn Torah? You got to learn, you got to mispal. You got to do both. Ishtadlis and... So this is a klal, you need both. And that's why here, Reb Chaim said, you did Ishtadlis, but you have to daven. The Gemara says in Brochas of Ches, every person should daven for the time that's going to come. Which time that's going to come? What are you going to find? Le'es to the time Mitzoy that you're going to find. So the Gemara is going on, Motzi Isha Matzatoy, you're going to find a wife. Zok Rashi, Yispalel sheyumitzulek yishitzalech. You should daven that when the time comes when you're going to need, that's when you're going to have the shidduch at the right time. You have to start davening a lot beforehand. Sefer Chassidim 156, Kufnun Vav writes, Lefikach and therefore Yischanan Odom al Atzmai. A person should daven on himself. Val Zareh for his kids. Val Zera Zareh for his Enekoch. B'chol Yoim every day. You're talking about a person should daven for himself, and then he should daven for his kids and for his Enekoch. It means a bocher starts davening, a boy starts davening for Enekoch Shidduchim. We say it every day, by the way. I once told you, we're asking for good Enekoch. When I go to yeshiva 5 years old, the Rebbe says, say, for good Enekoch when you're 5 years old. So we got to daven for your Enekoch, b'chol yom every day, l'zavik b'zivik yirishamayim im todik milas chasadim. Every day. The Balaturim and Kliyokah, they're both right. Vayetze Yitzchak lesuach basode. Yitzchak went to daven mincha. The Balaturim, he davened mincha, and that's when his shidduch Rivka came. B'shas tfilas mincha. The Heilige Menachem from Ger says a raya that the ikis tefillah helps because after Shtadlis, because the Gemara Moed Kot Yudches says that you're allowed to make a shidduch on Chalamoyed, you're allowed to make a shidduch on Tisha B'Av, Shemi kadmenu acha. Maybe someone will chop him away from you. Berachem and with davening. Zog the Pnei Menachem from Ger. If you're afraid, you're allowed to chop a shidduch fast on Tisha B'Av and on Chalamoyed, because maybe somebody else will daven that they want to take him away from you. Coach Ken, if you daven for your own shidduch, for sure you can get your shidduch. And that's what Reb Chaim Kanevsky told somebody. Somebody asked him, what should tefillah help? It's Kadosh Baruch already made up 40 days before when my shidduch is. So he said, Reb Chaim said, he made up where the shidduch is, but he didn't say when. And davening could be mocked in the shidduch. And I found the befedish in Medrash, like Reb Chaim Kanevsky, in Medrash Seichel Toiv writes, Beleah, because she davened, not only did it rip a gzeira that she doesn't have to marry Esav, that she can marry Yankov, but v'oid shekdima l'Rachel. She made a shidduch faster because of tefillah. So you see, tefillah is a special koyach, special for shidduchim. Let's understand how tefillah works and why it's going to help us for shidduchim. I'm going to say some marmakomis of Chazal. The Gemara in Brochas Lamed Beis writes, Omer Rabbi Elozer, Gedolei tefillah yosim ma'asim tovim. Tefillah is the biggest thing, more than any Torah ma'asim tovim. There's nobody bigger than Moshe Rabbeinu. He's the biggest in Klal Yisrael. He was not answered only through davening. What steht in the Gemara? That Moshe Rabbeinu davened to go into Eretz Yisrael for two reasons: to do the mitzvahs and also to see Eretz Yisrael. Because when Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to see Eretz Yisrael, he had only Mem Teh Shara Kedusha. The Rabbi Yeshu explains that. And when he sees it through his eyes, he was to get to the highest madrega of Nun Shara Kedusha. The Eibishter answered him on half. You can't go, you'll get the schar of the mitzvahs. A person wants to do a mitzvah and he couldn't do the mitzvah, will get the schar as if he did the mitzvahs. You'll get the schar of all the mitzvahs. Plus, you'll go see it, the tefillah you answered half. So the Gemara, why was it answered? The Torah says because of tefillah. It's a very shver Gemara. What do you mean? Moshe Rabbeinu had also massive learning and davening. Who says it's bigger? Why is tefillah bigger than everything else? So tefillah is not the biggest mitzvah than everything else. Torah and all the mitzvahs is just as big as tefillah. Tefillah may be a drabanan, some deraisa, but it's not the biggest mitzvah. It's the biggest to rip a gzadin. A person has a gzadin, so you want to rip a gzadin, tefillah is more powerful than everything. Why is that? Yeshua explains it there, moiridik. He says because when a person, nobody wants that he should get schar for his mitzvahs in this world. We want to get schar in that world because the schar for mitzvah is tremendous. We don't want to lose that schar. Tefillah is ve'eschanon, b'matnas chinam. Hashem gave us a gift that we can say, Hashem, you gave us a gift. I'm going to ask you. You're the boss of the world, but I'm going to ask you, you're going to listen. Yeah? We're going to tell Hashem what to do. This is a gift. Eibishter gave us a matana mika Hashem elekeinu b'chol kareinu elav. He gave us a gift that we can ask him for matnas chinam. So the strongest thing, you can have Torah, you can have tefillah. But you go to Baruch, I beg you, give me a matnas chinam. I don't deserve it, but I'm asking you, please help me. But matnas chinam is stronger than everything. And that's the raya. He asked, Hashem gave him half, and because of his tefillah. This is the strongness of koyach hatfillah b'matnas chinam. And then people ask, I davened already. So the Gemara says what Reb Chaim Kanevsky said, somebody davened and he was not answered. Yachzov yispalal, should daven again. Shenema kavel Hashem, hope to Hashem. Chazak, strengthen yourself. Give yourself double energy. And strengthen your heart. V'kavel Hashem again, and daven again. The Medrash writes similar, the same words, but adds 3 words. Keep on davening. V'yesh shah sheyit nerecha. Medrash Shabbos. You'll see there's a time, but sometime the tefillah is going to work. Keep on davening. And the third Gemara. Amar Abchini kol amarich b'tfilasoi ain't tfilasich. And this is this week's parsha. Someone that davens long ain't tfilasich chazeres reikim. His tefillah does not go back. Hashem answers him. Menolam Moshe Rabbeinu. Shenem, it says in Parshas Ekev, this week's parsha. Ve'espalal el Hashem, and I asked Hashem Shiba Moichel Klal Yisrael for the Chet Egel. Ve'ksiv basrei, va'yishma Hashem elai gam b'pam hi. Hashem listened. So you see, if a person is marach betfillah, the Eibishter, keep on davening, the Eibishter is going to answer you. Zokte Pnei Yeshua. The Marshal Muchazach, everybody Muchazach on this Pasha. If you look in the Pasha's Ekev, it's a very shver Pasha. It's such a beautiful Pasha. It's such chizuk, uplifting the Pasha. But you see in the Pasha, tremendous thing. You see Moshe Rabbeinu went up 3 times to Shamayim. The first time he went up to get the Luchos. Then Shavasa B'Tammuz, the Luchos were broken. Finish. No more Luchos. The first time. Second time he went up, says the Pasuk, and he threw himself down. He threw himself down to Hashem. Hashem, please answer me. He went 40 days to Shamayim. Says the Pasuk, Hashem listened to him. Then the Pasuk explains the whole story again. The Pasuk continues with different musar, and he goes back again. Hashem, says Rashi. He repeats the second time he went up again, and it says, Vayispalel Hashem, and I daven to the Eibishter. It doesn't say Hashem listened to him. Again. First it says, I fell down in front of Hashem, and he listened to me. He says, let's start again, let's start getting new luchos. He didn't listen to everything, but he listened to Moshe. The Pasuk says, Moshe is giving you more mussar what Klal Yisrael did, that you made Hashem angry more times and more times and more times. And then he goes back to repeat the story, to explain the details. He starts again, Hashem, and I fell down in front of Hashem, Vayispalel, and I davened to Hashem. It doesn't say he was answered. Later, 20 psukim later, it says, and I went up Kayomim Harishonim. I went up again a third time for 40 days, just like the first time. What do you mean? It's the third time. What do you mean like the first time? Kayomim Harishonim. Says Rashi, the third time was just Eibishter loved Moshe Rabbeinu just like the first time. The first time he went up the first time to get the Luchos, Hashem was excited to see him. He got broken by Shavasa B'Tammuz. Then he went up a second time. He fell down for Hashem, and he listened to him when he fell down. Then he says he fell down and he davened. No answer. The third time, Hashem listened to him. So when the Gemara says, how do you know? Moshe Rabbeinu davened 40 days and he didn't give up. But he did it twice. He did the second time 40 days and the third time 40 days. Zok the Gemara, how do we know if you're marach and tefillah, the tefillah doesn't go back? Moshe Rabbeinu. Where? Vespalel Hashem. V'ksiv basnei v'yishma Hashem alai gam b'pam hi. That's the third time. Why didn't the Gemara bring down from the second time that Hashem listened to him? He told him to go get the second luchos. It says also v'yishma Hashem alai, the Eibishter listened to him. And why did the Gemara bring from the third time? The Mashar muchitzik on this Gemara. And to say the psukim doesn't make sense. It starts that I fell down for Hashem and Hashem listened the way I fell down for Hashem. It doesn't say he davened. But when the explanation of the Pasha goes on, it says again, I fell down and I davened, but it doesn't say Hashem listened. Before it says Hashem listened. Why did it say before, not now? And then it says later, the third time is like the first days. Hashem was excited by Hashem. And that's how Yom Kippur happened. The end of the third 40 days was Yom Kippur. Zokte Pnei Yeshua. It's a beautiful, I know it's lengthy, it's detailed. But you see the Pasha, it's so beautiful. It's this week's Pasha, and it's Negei Tefillah, that you don't give up the daven. Listen to the words of Pnei Yeshua. You know why the Gemara brings the third time, not the second time, 40 days that he davened? And also, what's the Gemara? Why does the Gemara have to bring from this week's Pasha? Moshe Rabbeinu davened so many times for Klal Yisrael, and he was answered. He davened Vayichal, Misoyin, Meraglim. Why this week's Pasha? Zok te Pnei Yeshua. The first 40 times he went to daven is not counted. That's called lengthy davening? 40 days? Not lengthy davening. Why isn't it lengthy? It says 2 reasons. Listen to these 2 reasons why it's not considered he davened long. I'm reading the words. Pnei Yeshua brachas lamed beis. It's not called long davening. The kiyum v'shehischil espalav l'einena. Moshe Rabbeinu started davening. The whole day, the first day of the 40th day. Nothing doing. Hashem not answering him. So what's his choice? You have to start again and again. If you daven and you weren't answered, you re-daven again. So it's not called a long davening. You didn't start yet. The first 40 days, if he wasn't answered, it's called daven. If you're not successful in business, you start again. I tried so many times, but you didn't start yet. So if his davening wasn't successful those 40 days, it's not considered a lengthy davening. Here's the what? Don't be discouraged. 1,000 times. That's not considered a longer davening. Second reason why is those 40 days, you have to stand to forgive for ruining the first 40 days. The first 40 days, Moshe Rabbeinu Horovit to get the luchos. He comes down, Shavasa B'Tamas, and the luchos gets broken. You're davening an extra 40 days? That's not counted the long davening. You have to repay for what you ruined. In other words, for us, the chizik, I'm not finished with Yeshua, is that when you have to daven again and again and again, and you give up, it's you starting. The Eibusher wants that. You don't give up. And the second is, who knows what we have to be misakin for our chatam or gugulim or we heard other people. That's not counted as a longer davening. What's counted a longer davening? Sukte Pnei Yeshua, it's a whole long Pnei Yeshua. I'll say it b'kitzer. That the third time around, Rashi writes, that the Eibusher was excited that Moshe Rabbeinu came up. He listened to him, Kayomim Harishonim. The third 40 days was Bahava. He loved Moshe Rabbeinu. The middle 40 days was Bekas, anger. So the first 40 days, the last 40 days, right when he came up, he says, Hi, Shalom Aleichem, Moshe Gevaldik. I'm excited for you. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to daven a longer davening then? He should have just davened, finish. One davening or whatever, and the Eibusher will give him the luchos. Here we learned that you have to daven a longer davening. What do we see from this Pnei Yeshua? And that's where Taki got everything. The 40th day, Yom Kippur, Kapara for Maaseh Egel. He got the luchos, and it stayed at Yom Kippur forever. That's because Moshe Rabbeinu would daven the lengthy davening. What do we see from this Heilige Pnei Yeshua? A person struggling in davening, if we didn't start, you got to keep on looking again. And maybe you have to cover for the Chatam of Kas. And even if you go Holfen, you got to keep on davening, and that's a longer davening. You don't give up davening. Davening is forever. Someone came to Reb Steinman. Von Baruch Hashem, he struggles for Shidduch a long years, and so he's gegangen a Shidduch, and now Baruch Hashem a Shidduch happened. He was so excited to give the news to Reb Steinman and that. So Reb Steinman told him, you remember those days that you were so excited of the Eibusher, you davened to Hashem, you poured out a heart. Boy, Hashem, I need help for Shidduch. Please help me. Help every partner. Thank you, this part worked. Thank you, this part. And you had such a escarvis to the Eibusher. Keep up that escarvis. Keep it forever. Keep on davening. Keep on thanking Hashem. You have to daven the Shidduch. Keep on going. Give the kids. Fight the Shidduch. Fight the kinder. This is what we learn from this Gemara. There's no limit of davening. In our story, my niece, a different niece, saw that her older sister was waiting for Shidduch and struggling. So in school, they daven Shachas and Mincha. But Ma'ariv, they didn't daven. She wanted him to makabel upon herself, even though Ma'ariv is her shus for girls. She wanted him to makabel to do Ma'ariv. Yes? I get a couple. 40 days Ma'ariv. Like Moshe Rabbeinu, 40 days. That's what it comes by with the whole school of 40 days. Boa Mem comes to Savlad, and Moshe 40 days. Tubav to Chafei El is 40 days. So she davened 40 days Ma'ariv for schus for sister for Shidduch. Comes 40 days, no Shidduch. I'm doing it again, 40 days, second time. And the second 40 days, no Shidduch. And now she hears from a sister talking on the phone that she has also a friend that's struggling with a Shidduch. And they're talking about a Shidduchim and this and that. And she says, I'm going to do a third time Ma'ariv 40 days for both. For my sister and for my sister's friend. That's what I'm going to do. She did the third time 40 days Ma'ariv. Guess what? The 40th day of the Ma'ariv that she did, her sister got engaged and her sister's friend got engaged the same night. The third time 40, not to give up. And they got married the same week. Yeah, a sister and a sister's friend. A young girl. She decided on her own not to give up. Double the energy of davening. Use strong koiches of tefillah. Another madrega in tefillah I want to speak about. It's not just about the kamas, how much tefillah. It's the eiches about how the tefillah. And this has to do with this week's parsha. Muridige Ostrov Tzegoyin. I wish I have the time. Such a powerful parsha is told us. He speaks there about this week's parsha. It's beautiful. I'm going to say Bekitza, but it's Mosik Midrash. In this week's parsha we find the praise of Eretz Yisrael. Like Eretz Mitzrayim. It's not like Mitzrayim, like Egypt. Why? At Yisrael, you have to wait for the rain. You have to wait for the rain. Mitzrayim? It was easy. They set up the Nilus, the water. They had roads all over where the waters are going to the fields. You open up the river. Psh! No, you don't need no rain. You don't need nothing. It worked by itself. Easy. But at Yisrael, you don't have a Nilus. Sorry. But at Yisrael, you have rain. That's the mile of Eretz Yisrael. That's a mile? I'm asking that's a mile. The Nilus, I'm set up. I know what water I have. There's always water. I pull it open the faucet. I have water. I have to. Oh, is it going to rain? We don't own fields. If we don't own fields, we don't. Oh, tomorrow's going to be. Oh, what's going to be? It's not going to grow. Every day, then daigit. That's the mile of it. So that's mountains and there's no Nilus to cover the whole mountains. You have to come onto the rain. That's the bracha of Eretz Yisrael. What's the pasuk saying? It's this week's parsha. Another thing says in this week's parsha, Eretz Yisrael is a mile. Eretz as Hashem Elokecha doirish ois atomid. Ein Hashem Elokecha ba. Mereish Shana vad Achas Shana. The Gemara learns Rosh Hashanah. You see what's going to be for Rosh Hashanah whole year. We learn from this pasuk. But what is the mile of Eretz Yisrael? Explains Rabbi Bechaya. All the whole world is run by mazalos. What's the mazel? What's the nature? The mazel. At Yisrael, Hashem looks down every day. He's in trouble. No rain. Mess him up. He's good. Let's give him good. You want to live in such a pachat every minute? That's the mind of Yisrael. You're telling people that are coming from the midbar, they come from Mitzrayim. Hey, you go in there, they're going to be with a stick the whole time. They'll watch you. They'll give you good too, but bad too. Be careful. That's the, what do I say, the Mila? Zok the Ostrov Tzegoyin. By Yaakov Avinu, the difference between Yaakov's bracha and Esau's bracha is V'yiten l'chalakim metal hashamayim. Right? It says Avav. V'yiten. It should have said Yiten. I'm going to give you. Zok Chazal, Yachzor v'yiten. I'm going to give you again and again. Ve is like the second time already. V'yiten. And I'm also going to give you. Extra Vav. I'm going to give you additional things. I mean, I don't need to get again and again. I need to get money set for the month and keep it for the month. Imagine, I'm going to give you, I'll have enough for a day, I'll give you again. That's a bracha? Esav got Mishmana Oretz. Yaakov gets Metala Shemayim. What's Metala Shemayim? Different from Mishmana Oretz. And V'yitem V'yachzitim. Zokte Ostrov Tzegoyin. This week's parsha, it says by the mon, that the Eibusha brought us in the mon and gave us the mon in the mid. But the große mon, what the heilige mon? Says the Gemara, Yuma Ayin Vav. Sha'alu Talmidav es Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Why? Pnei Mal Yorad Lem Yisrael Mon. Pa'amech b'shana. Why didn't it come Rosh Hashanah, Tzadikim, Mon for a whole year? Every day. We're nervous tonight. We can't sleep a whole night. Are we going to get Mon tomorrow? Have breakfast? Why do we need Mon for? Every day. So he said, a Moshe Melech Basar Badam, that he have a child, and he told him, I'll give you Mezonis for a whole year. He gave him money for a whole year. He never saw his son. His son never showed up. He doesn't show up. Okay, I'm going to give him slowly. I'm going to give him every day. You have to come to me. You have to be a mensch. Zok Shimon Bar Yochai, the Eibusha wanted us to come closer to Hashem. Here in this world, we're not here just to get food and money. This is not the tachlis. Here we're in this world for different reason. We're here to be closer to Hashem and do the Ratzon Hashem. So, Mela, this is the biggest matana that we have to get mon every day. Yeah, it's the biggest matana that the Eibush is looking at you every day. Schus, that he's watching me, that we should do the right thing, and we should grow. And that's why Nilus Mitzrayim, Eibush doesn't want to know about them. Where do you see this? By the Nachash. The Nachash, the Eibush cursed the Nachash. He gave him wherever he wants to go, he has food. He has earth. He could eat the earth. What's Pshat? Because Eibush doesn't want to know about him. He kicks him away. But Hashem made us needy people. We need His help every minute. But Hashem, I need your help. In order we should daven, we should become closer, we should become better people. Thus, see how He teaches the bracha, we say every time, every day. Boy reina fashois rabbis. The Eibishter creates a lot of people. V'chesroinon, and things that are lacking in the person. Lactosis, it means like bread and water. I can't live without what's the main food of a person. V'chesroinon, what we're lacking. Besides that, I'll call mashabara lahachiz bem nefesh. Besides that, on the extra things, I'll call on all the extra things, mashabara that Hashem created, which is like ice cream, potato chips. In the Gemara's time, Tosfos says apples. That was the treat. So again, chesroinon, I thank Hashem that He gave things that we have to have. Besides that, I'll call mashabara, everything else that He created, in order lahachyois behem, in order to live with it, to get life from it. Nefesh kol chai, every life person, creature. That's the Pasha Taich. Zokte ostrav tzegoyin. Why does Hashem make that we have to eat? You know why? One of the reasons, I have to come on to Him. Help me, I need food. Zokte, boy nefashis rabbis, v'chesroinon, they should be lacking food. That's a bracha. Baruch Hashem, I'm lacking food. I'll come about all the extra things that I have. That's a bracha. You know why? Lahachyois behem. To give us chiyus life, not just gashmistic life. Neshama. Lahachyois behem nefesh kol chai, to be a living person with Hashem. We were needy people. Hashem made us. That's the biggest bracha. The biggest bracha that has to come on to Hashem. Moridik, it goes on the more. And this is the whole parsha of this week. Yes, Goin is there, it goes through, but it's too late. This is the whole week's Parshas Ekev. To say Hashem, the Eibishter's koyach, you're the koyach, the Pasuk writes, Hashem He gives you the strength. Don't forget that He's the one. And that's when this week's Parsha, we start with Birchas HaMazon, is this week's Parsha. There was a whole kulkara against Mazonis bread. There's no more Mazonis bread. Most of them is phony fraud. There was a kulkara of 40, 50 Rabbanim. But you have to comment it. Wash your bench. It's a zgula for panosa. And I've realized that Birchas HaMazon is a zgula for Shidduchim as well. Both are like Chris Yamsev. They come from the same oilam, from Zoya. Birchas HaMazon is a zgula for panosa. The Chinuch writes that, the oldest zgula in Klal Yisrael. Why? I brunch them, you give me everything. Panosa, the whole Birchas HaMazon is that. Meya brachas. Mola Hashem lekecha shoyl mi'imach kim yiras Hashem. To get Yiras Shamayim. How? El tikun mola meya. That's this week's Pasha. Every minute, 100 brachas. Baruch Hashem, I thank you for this, my hand, everything I thank Hashem. I need you. And the end of the Pasha, Kishmal of the B'cholavavchem, avoidisha b'levis v'tfilah. The whole Inyan of the Eibishter, sometimes we have it hard in Shidduchim. Hashem wants our tfilah. Hashem wants our closeness. Hashem wants we should rely on Him. We should daven to Him. We should grow. And that's what we see all in Klal Yisrael, our tzaddikim. Particularly, you can learn it from Yosef Tzaddik. Very famous Medish Tanchuma. Yosef Tzaddik was the big Baal B'tachim. Baruch HaGevesh Yiftach B'Hashem. Zok the Medish, it says that Yosef Ish Matzliach, and Potiphar saw on him that Hashem is with him. How did he see? Frek the Medish, Potiphar's a Rashi. But he knew the Kavanas, he saw through his face what he is, what tzaddik he is. Zok the Medish, and Yosef came in, Yosef was talking, a whole time talking to the Eibishter. He said, Ribono Olam, remember these words, Ribono, you could say it yourself. Atuhu b'tchoini, you're the one that I have b'tachin, you're the one I trust in. Atuhu patroni. Patroni is Lashon Odoin, master. You're my master. And you I rely on. And you are my master. Titneini l'cheinu l'chesed l'rachmim beinecha. Give me a shafchein in you, Rabban Yisrael's eyes. Ube'ena kol raya, all my friends. Ube'ena Potiphar adoini. That's what he davened. Potiphar sees him saying something. He says, what are you doing? Saying kishev? He says, no, I'm just davening. And he said that I should be matzliach tavchein. And that's what Yosef did. And that's why he's the Ish Matzliach. People in the older generations always live like that, and a lot of people live like that. They talk to Hashem. Today's generation, we have bigger learners, bigger daveners, but we don't have the pasha to me. We should talk to Hashem. I heard it from Rosh Hashiva 40 years ago. Rabbi Kahanim of Mitzrayim. This is a very important thing to talk to Hashem. I need a shidduch. I need help to talk to Hashem. But there's another point that I want to mention. We say in Ashrei every day, Karav Hashem l'chol koir v'chol shekru'u be'emes. What is the taich of those words? The Yavitz, the Rizal asked the Kasha, Karav Hashem l'chol koirav. Hashem is close to everybody that calls upon him. Everybody. And then it says, L'chol asher yikru'uhu, to those that are going to call Hashem, be'emes, 2 kashas. It says whoever called, and it says whoever's going to call, and here it says be'emes, here it says without be'emes. So when is Hashem close to you? When you're be'emes or without be'emes? Zok di Yavitz, pachadika words. He says when you ask Hashem something, Hashem is going to help you. But it doesn't mean it's going to be successful. It doesn't mean you'll be successful. Like we find the midbar. Our fathers, they wanted meat. Give them meat. You want monogamy. Whatever you want, you'll get. It doesn't mean it's successful. Call him Hashem. If you call him, he'll help you. But you better make sure that you also, even after you get Yeshua, you still call on Hashem. Be'emes, always be with Hashem. Not just when you need something, use Hashem for a service. When you always, the Eibush is going to answer you if you call Hashem be'emes, if always you're going to call him be'emes. Like I told you before, Rabbi Steinman, after the Shidduch, you got to also daven. A person has to constantly daven. No matter what, a person has to daven. But I want to say a deeper pshat in that. In Kol of Hashem, which is Negei us. The Gemara Rosh Hashanah Yudches Amar Aleph says, 2 people in the Rahman Islam were sick. They went into bed in the hospital. They both davened, and one died, one was alive. This one davened, this one davened. Why was this one answered? Why this one wasn't answered? Zok the Gemara, Zeh spal tefillah shleima. Nene. He davened with his ganze kavana, with the ganze emes. There's such a thing, sometimes a person davens a lot, but it doesn't come out emes. He doesn't feel, I'm davening because I have to daven, you gave me a amount of skin, I'm begging you. But there's such a thing called Yan Hashem b'yom tzara. B'yom tzara, he answers you? I have a tzara now. It's not, the matzav is no good. But when sometimes a person has a tzara, the heart is so broken, he calls out to Hashem, please help me. I have nobody else to help me. The pasuk in Tehillim Mem Vav writes also, Ezra b'tzaros nimtza ma'od. Help of Hashem in a tzara is very easy found. Ezra b'tzaros, your help on a tzara nimtza ma'od. Because I have no other way, only you can help me. And that's what about Yaakov Avinu. Medrash Rabbim Vayetzer writes, Yaakov Avinu, when he went to do a shidduch, he couldn't do a shidduch. He didn't have a penny to give. So Yaakov started crying. He said the Kapil Tilim, which became the Zgul in Klal Yisrael for shidduch. Rabbi Yashav says he used to say it before Yilerotzim, Rabbi Chaim Kanevsky, Shir Lamalas Eseina El Horim Yain Ve'ezi, to say every day by all your tefillahs before Yilerotzim Refi, by Shemoneh Esrei. Kapitel Kuf Chafalef, 121. So the Medrash writes, Yaakov Avinu did that. Shir Lamalos Eseina El Horim. I'm looking all around my eye, Yavezri. I have no help. He's going to do a shidduch, doesn't have a dollar. He said that Eliezer Deram had gold and silver, had money to offer. I have nothing to offer. Alta Buch, 86 years old. Where am I going to do a shidduch? He's lost totally because he can't do shtadlis, because you have to do shtadlis. But if you saw he can't do shtadlis, Zok the Medish Chazav Va'amah, he was mechazik himself. He doesn't lose himself. Mono, what's with me, Yaakov Avinu? I'm going to lose my betachon from the Eibishter? Chas v'shalom, said Yaakov Avinu. Less I know I'm not going to lose my betachon from the Eibishter. And ezi mim Hashem, oitze shemayim v'aretz. The Eibishter who made the shemayim v'aretz, he's going to be my help. There's a certain nikud in oimek alev, in the depths of the heart, in a time of a tzara, of a scarves to the Eibishter. It comes out sometime when a person davens a lot. It comes out, and that nikudas halev, that's Yan Hashem b'yom tzara. That's Ezim Hashem. I'm ready to lose myself, and then I'm not going to lose myself. And all the boys and girls are listening to this all over the world. We have a Asifa tonight of Shidduchim in Williamsburg, a huge Asifa tonight. We're trying to turn over the world. We made many of them. To turn over the world. Do not give up hope. Do not give up hope. Yaakov Avinu almost gave up hope. He had nothing to himself. Esav, a brother, wants to kill him. He's going to Lavan. No money. And he said, I have nobody. I have nobody to help me. Nobody. And then he said, I'm not going to lose myself. And he went weiter. We need this chizik all the time. And that, I think, is a different pshat in the pasuk. Karav Hashem Chakarav. We're not in the madrega with the yavitz of always being a tzaddik be'emes. Like he says, if you're not always a tzaddik, who says that tefillah is good? No. Karav Hashem Chakarav, every tefillah helps. You know when? when you want to get there. When you want to get to call out be'emes. You're not holding that yet. You want to be in that madrega. You're not holding that madrega, but you want to be in that madrega. They are Maisa. It's a family Maisa. I hope my mother's not makbid. My mother is a tzaddikus from Eretz Yisrael. Her parents lived in Eretz Yisrael, but there was no parnasa over 60 years ago. Whoever knows the situation in Yisrael, there was no food, there was no bread to eat. Not the pressure was much worse. 60, 70, there was no food. And my grandfather, Reb Chaim Dov, a big tzaddik, he had a big mishpacha, and he didn't have to be able to provide to the family. All the kids slept in one room in Beis Yisrael neighborhood, Mei Sharm neighborhood. And he came here to make some parnasa and sent the money to Yisrael. My mother lived with the whole family, the kids in Yisrael. But somebody heard my mother was a big tzaddikus, a Rosh Hashiva, and they wanted my mother for Shidduch in America. My mother's not coming to America. What is she? That's really good. What is she coming to America? He's sponsoring the visa, sponsoring the tickets, he's sponsoring everything. So, there's a whole ma'asim in the Shemaim why she was masking do it. She had a cholam, Rabbi Yochanan Kalim. The kids, she was masking. She knew the cholam that he said she should go to America. So she went. She came to America. She didn't want the shidduch. And my grandfather, who was poor, he was a tzaddik. Nobody does it today. I had shidduchim. They bring, come from Eretz Yisrael. Pay $5,000. Come with tickets. Hold you. Go back. My grandfather, big fools. My mother said no to the shidduch. He paid back every penny that cost the visa and the tickets and all that. So my mother was here then. So my mother already, once she was here already, maybe she'll find different shidduch. She took a job. She was a principal, a teacher in a high school. And they loved her because she was a principal in Eretz Yisrael still when she was a girl. So she had a lot what to sell. And Rabbi Machlis' yeshiva, she took her. And she was, the kids said she was here. She go back, not go back. She was a very older girl. And my father was a Magachin yeshiva Torah when he was already a bacha, and he was an older boy. And my grandfather was tzebrochen oisezich. Because the shidduch didn't work out. And now she's sitting here. Go back to Eretz Yisrael. Not go back. Yes, shidduch. What do we do? And he versteht sich, he davened the shtadlis. But it came to that nekuda v'chol sheker ur be'emes. It came to that broken heart. It came to that nekuda se'emes. One night, he goes to the Beis Medrash. They didn't have safes in Aron Kodesh. In Stolen Shul in Rodney Street. That was the old Stolen Shul. It's already 100 years old. Now it's Nitra. And he goes to Aron Kodesh, opens Aron Kodesh. Nobody was in the shul. How did I find out the story? Because I heard it from somebody that snuck in later. He told me the story. And he went to Aron Kodesh. He poured out his heart. He screamed, "You should help me. Look what I'm going through. You can help me. You always help me. You can help me weiter. I'm betochen." The next morning came the shidduch from my mother and my father. Sagen sind nicht stark. Ad mei ves mishana. There's the kudas alev. You can daven and daven like Moshe Rabbeinu 40 days and keep on davening marach betfillah like Chaim Kanevsky says. Never give up. Keep on davening. But the nekuda of the Yikru Be'emes is going to come out. And then the nekuda comes out. Hashem is going to listen to you. He's going to give you shidduch. Don't give up hope. With so much bakoshes, so much tefillahs. But we have to know when we daven a lot, we shouldn't come chas v'shalom to tarumis. The Gemara, that same Gemara speaks about that whoever someone is marach in tefillah can be also dangerous. Someone's marach in tefillah, and sometimes he complains to Hashem. I daven with kavanah. I pour out my heart. We are here by Yisrael. It's dangerous. You're not allowed to do that. The Gemara says it's called in tefillah. You're not allowed to daven. The Gemara might cut yitches says you're not allowed to daven. I must have this girl. I must have daven. It's dangerous. Rabbi Chaim Kanevsky writes it's a Gemara might cut yitches. You have to daven. I should get the right shidduch which the Eibush is mom to me, and thank Hashem and say because you gave me a man eschinim Rebbeinu Shalom. That's why I'm asking you for shidduch and I'm asking you for help because you gave me the opportunity to daven to you. Am I worth to tell the Rebbeinu Shalom what to do? Rebbeinu give me this. If he doesn't want, what do you mean? I'm telling him to do different than what he understands better than you. But he gave us a mountain schim that we can daven. He gave us this gift that we can pour our hearts to our Eibishter, and he's always listening to us. Some the Medrash writes, some tefillahs need 40 days, some need much longer. There's a different, a whole medrash speaks about. Some tefillah is answered right away. Some tefillah needs the Eitz Ratzon. Some need 40 days like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu davened around the clock 40 days. So we have to be very careful when we come to tefillah. You will come from Hador. Baruch I thank you for everything you gave me. Like this week's Pasha, Birchas Hamaz, and Meir Brachas. Every opportunity to thank Hashem. And every part of a Shidduch. Baruch thank you that this started working. Thank you this. And with thank you helps a lot. So we have to be very careful about this. We have to know that every zivig is orchestrated by Hashemayim. The Medrash and Vayetze writes that some people have to go at length for the zivig, work very hard, and some not. The Medrash brings Yitzchak Avinu, his shidduch came to him. And Yaakov Avinu had to struggle and go to his shidduch and struggle for 40 years. We don't know Cheshbonis of the Eibishter. We don't know if it's Gegulim, Chatoim, maybe we paint off, maybe Hester. We don't know what it is. But we have to have betochen that the Eibishter has a Cheshbon, do our most powerful shtadlis, and daven and beit Hashem, and have betochen Hashem. I want to say a story about this, about a shidduch. There's a big tzaddik in Borough Park. Yeah, nobody knows about him. The Stanislav Rebbe on 40th Street. Yeah, it's tzaddik, old tzaddik. Shmuel Oilam, nobody knows about him. He told me the story when he lived in the block many years ago. There was a Stanislav Rebbe in London. And when the Stanislav Rebbe in London lived, before his shidduch happened, he told me a story of over 50 years ago, or more, 60 years ago, 50 years ago. The Stanislav Rebbe told his son, I don't let you go live in America. Treif in America, 50, 60 years ago was different than today. Treif in America was still with the old, way of thought. Either London or Eretz Yisrael, England or Eretz Yisrael. I don't let you go. So when we spoke a shidduch, they made a shidduch, and they made it belong to Eretz Yisrael. He went to live in Eretz Yisrael, and fine. But what happened? Hashem wanted differently. She needed to go for a procedure or something, and it wasn't available in Eretz Yisrael, so he had to go stay in America for a while. And once he stayed in America for a while, what happens is, he had to stay there to check. Bekitza Maisa, he had to stay in America, and he was so hurt. His father didn't want B'Shumei Neufner should be in America. His father told him, Nicht America, no, Eretz Yisrael. But the Eibishter made it this way. This is how the shidduch is. He has to follow it. He came here, he bought a house, he bought a small stiebel, same old stiebel, and he went to the Menachem Av Rebbe Zayngesund, and he told the Menachem Av Rebbe, I'm so zerbrochen, not near my family, not Eretz Yisrael, it's not what I wanted. What should I do? Menachem Av Rebbe Zayngesund told him the following. So there's a word for Reb Shloime Kalina. On Krishna we say B'chol Avavcha, Rashi begins on last week's Pasha. One shot, Shelo yehi lipcha choluk ala mokem. Your heart should not be, not machloikis. Cholak here means split on the Eibishter. Which means your heart should be total, two ways. Livavcha, your heart should be totally for Hashem. Sometimes, I'm so happy for Hashem. Today, tomorrow, why does Hashem do this? Why not? Don't have any questions. Don't have. Your heart shouldn't be split up with Hashem. You should be connected with Hashem totally, 100%, not 50%. Levavcha, both hearts. No chalukah between you and Hashem. That's the Pasha Taich and Rashi. But Reb Shloime Kalina Taich, Mokum doesn't mean place. Mokum here can mean, Mokum here doesn't mean just Hashem, like the Pasha Taich. Mokum can mean also the place. A person has a tendency that if I would be in this shul, I would have this yeshiva, and if I would have this panos, if I would have this wife, and this husband, and this neighborhood, I would be better. Hashem put me this, unfortunately, I'm not doing properly. Your heart shouldn't be split with the place that you are in. Because wherever Hashem sent you, whichever place you go, whichever zivig Hashem gave you, there's a reason. And don't say that if I would have a different one or a different one, it would be better. It would not be. It would be a lot worse. Hashem knows what's your tachlis. Hashem knows what's the reason why you're going through. Hashem wants this, and you should be happy what Hashem is doing with His wrath, and He's fearing you. That's Reb Shloime Kalina Taich Shleibir Cholak ala Mokum, on the place and the situation, the place, the time, the matzav. And the Menachem Av Rebbe told him that Hashem wanted. Obviously, you didn't choose it to be here. That means you have a tachlis to be successful. Okay, accepted the words. Wasn't finished. I had a Zayd Rabbi Yochanan Hochheiser from my wife's side, who he lived in London, and he davened in the old Stanislav shul. The original Stanislav Shul. The original Stanislav Shul of the Friedecker, today's father, moved. When they moved to the other shul, it became a ganze machloikis. Does it have the same halach of the first shul or the new shul? Hey, Mishana Mokkah, Mishana Maz. That was the machloikis. I daven the Mizrach and that shul. I have the same spot. I daven the Marv. I have the same spot. He said, no, it's a new shul. A ganze machloikis. The Rebbe, the Stanislav, no, it's the same shul. He wanted to keep the Kedusha continuing, and he was it, but he wasn't sure, and people were making him, no, it's not the same. Who said? My Zayda, Rabbi Yochanan Hachaizer, my wife Zayda, he made a takon in Stanislav Shul, in the first Stanislav Shul, they should say Tillim a few kapitlik every day after Shachas, 5 kapitlik every day after Shachas. And when they moved to the next shul, they stopped. Plays, forgotten. My Zayda comes to the Cholim, to the Stanislav Rebbe. Yeah, my Zayda comes to the Cholim. Why did you stop when I brought into your first shul? Why did you stop it in the new place? Wait, what is it? Because it's a new place? It's the same shul. The Rebbe was so happy that he told him this, because he wanted that. He held it the same shul. And with that story, they gave him the chizik. The Stanislav Rebbe, Zechariah Rav, gave him the chizik in London, that the second shul is also the first shul. This small shtibel on 40th Street, which closed most of the time, a whole week. One day, my Zayda B'Yochanan has a tzavah written by pen, like 20 pages. He had a long tzavah, shlun all medrashim, and do everything. Why does Hashem make all these forum? Obviously, you have to learn everything. Everything is made for you. Who is it made for? It has ganze drushas there in a tzavah. It wasn't printed. I don't have it. The family even doesn't have it. Maybe some kids have it. One day, this 10-page or whatever it is, tzavah written by hand, a copy, lands up in Stanislav Shul in Bar Park. Nobody knows till today how it happened. Nobody brought it there. And the Stanislav Rebbe got such chizik in Bar Park. He tells me, I was upset. Why am I here? Why is my shidduch schlepped me to Tisrael and they brought me here? Why? And I was so upset about it. My father didn't want the shul should live in Bar Park. Why am I here? But now I see Rabbi Yochanan Hachaizer, who gave chizik to my father in the Cholim, that the first Stanislav Shul is the second Stanislav Shul, and this is the third Stanislav Shul. He came with a tzavah to show him, I'm here. I'm also here. I'm still in your shul, in Borough Park, in Stanislav. They gave him the chizik. We don't know how Hashem runs this world. And when it comes to Shidduchim, each place, we all need chizik from here tonight. I'm not going to get to the Gesh Edelstein tonight because it's a ganze drusha. But I do want to say one thing. This week's Pasha is V'hoya Ekev Tishmon. The Chidon, all the Mefarshim ask, I'll conclude with this word. It's a good word to go home with. The last word in last week's Pasha V'schanon ends, Hayoim Masaysim, today you do. Zakrashi, in this world you do. Umachor, in next world, Lekabel Tzchon, you get the Tzchah. There's no Tzchah in this world. The next world gets a Tzchah. The next pasuk, V'hoya Ekev, says the opposite. There's no Pasha in the Torah that I know that has so much great things like V'hoya Ekev, this week's Pasha. You'll have good kids, everybody will be healthy, you're not going to need no boinoidam, you're not going to need no doctors, you're not going to need no tacharich, nothing, everything will be good. That's this week's Pasha. No akara, everybody's kids. That's Pasha's Ekev, so many brachas. It says right beforehand, Hayoim Masoisam, Umachal Kabel Scharam. This world you do, you don't get. Next world. This world you got to toil and mitches, like an harvest, go through Nisyonis Nagmas Nefesh, and still have a Tachan Hashem. And right away it starts, if you learn the Torah and do all the mitzvahs, you get the millions of behemoths, billionaire, every children, family, shidduchim, everything you want. It's a stira. One pasuk, the last pasuk of last pasha, to this first pasuk of this pasha. The Chidah. Rabbi say tonight we're going out here, Bez Hashem. We're all going out with partners of shidduchim, Bez Hashem. We're going to do. V'hoya, the Gemara says, Ein v'hoya lashon simcha, ein v'hi lashon tzar. Right? You know the Gemara? We're on Megillah. Why? Whenever you say past, that's tzar. I could have done this and I could have done that. That's v'hi. V'hoya is I'm going to do. That's going to do. That's simcha. The Gemara says, Ein v'hoya lashon simcha. I'm going to do. Don't tell me what you did. From now on, what you're going to do. Ekev is mitzvah should adam dosh ba'kev, Rashi says. Mitzvahs the people step on. They don't want to do. But I so wanted to say, Ekev, when you run to do a chesed fayid, Shlomke Zvula says, if you do a chesed fayid, you save yourself 1,000 times Angos Nefesh. That's the Lashon, 1,000 times. Hayoim asoisem, 100% of schaz alam haba. That's a regular mitzvah. But v'hoya, if you do a mitzvah b'simcha for yenim, ekev, you run with your foot to help yenim with a shidduch. He has 3 kids waiting for shidduchim. What are you sitting around wasting your time? Every extra minute you call up a friend, how could I help you with a shidduch? I have a son, you have a son. I had these a few things spoken for me, you had these few things. Let's share. I have a young couple. They know what's from the school or in the work. All the Zayd and Ababa. What are you sitting? You're not retired. You know so many families. Help your kids in Enikok. Help other people. And this is the biggest chus. V'hoya ekev, we'll go run to do shidduchim for others. Now start Chamisha Asa B'Av. The days of Chamisha Asa B'Av is a Yom Tov like Yom Kippur. We're starting a Ksivach Simitayva. Let's get schusim. The Heilige Chassam Sofer Erev Kol Nidre. Before Yom Kippur. I need schusim. The Heilige Chassam Sofer needs schusim. Yeah, I need schusim. He says, let's make a shidduch. You take her. I hold this good. I promise you can have Olam Hazeh, Olam Haba, good to ken everything. He ran and oh, Baruch Hashem, now I have what against Yom Kippur. I gemacht a shidduch in Klal Yisrael. This is the biggest thing. Yom Kippur, they did shidduchim. Now, some say we didn't have Yom Kippur, but that's what they did on Yom Kippur. They're all busy with Yom Kippur. And there's no excuse, not Tisha B'Av, not Chol Hamoed, no excuse to help nach a Yid. The Eibusher bench. They're all together in this kinnesus oiris that we want to do for Klal Yisrael. Hashem should give you all nachas from your kids and good to shidduchim. Should be easy and show you the right way. And everybody should be chazik b'tochim. We should be zoichet to zivugim agunim. Doris yisharim and ad bias gol tzedek b'mheira v'yameinu aksivach tivusim etay v'lanu chol Yisrael. Amen.
Shem Yigan Shir Torah, Mrs. Boston, I give a big character by both tonight's drasha. To have the great source sponsoring one of the remaining shiurim, call Yigan Shir Torah at 718-851-8651, email ist@yeshivanet.com. And Tananya Menachem Hashem Rabbi Boruch Hu, Zakes es Yisrael, Avir Hebron Torah Mitzvah Shenema Alenoi Chofetz, Amatzidka Yagdol Torah V'Yader.